10 surprising facts about Bitcoin you need to know. Number 1, it's not really anonymous. Trying to explain the entirety of why Bitcoin isn't anonymous would take forever, and even I don't understand it as well as hackers and other technology junkies. Bitcoin isn't completely anonymous. Hackers and government agencies have the means to track pretty much anything, including Bitcoin. If someone can connect multiple nodes to the Bitcoin network, the combined data collected from these different nodes might be enough to determine where a transaction originated. Want some free Bitcoin? You could join Coinbase in the description and invest $100 into cryptocurrency, and you'll get a small amount of free Bitcoin. Number 2, different countries regard Bitcoin differently, and this changes throughout the years, months, days, etc. So typically, Bitcoin is not regulated by national governments, which is part of the reason it's so popular. But the laws around Bitcoin range from it being recognized as legal currency to being discouraged by governments. Australia and Japan, for example, treat Bitcoin like any other form of currency, while Jordan and Lebanon have issued official statements saying they don't support the use of Bitcoin. This doesn't prevent citizens of these countries from using Bitcoin, however. Number 3, there is a limited amount of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was founded, the creator, you can see number 6 in this list later on, only made a limited amount, which is 21 million to be exact. Currently, over 16 million are in circulation, but more are being mined every day. Number 4, it's not the only cyber currency. Even though Bitcoin gets all the media coverage, it's not the only cyber currency in existence. Ether, for example, is the next best known cryptocurrency. Like Bitcoin, a limited amount, 16 million were created back in 2014. Unlike Bitcoin, however, it exists within its own network, the Ethereum network. It's used more for gambling and investing than everyday purchases. Number 5, Bitcoin is more popular than you might think. Even governments such as China are trying to break into the Bitcoin world. Recently, China has tried to crack down on their citizens buying and selling Bitcoin by closing exchanges, but that has only made it more popular. Bitcoin has been called the new gold. Think about the gold rush and the country's push to mine as much of it as possible. That's how Bitcoin is now. Number 6, no one knows who created Bitcoin, like not really. So there are a ton of conspiracy theories surrounding who created Bitcoin, but no one has been able to come up with a feasible conclusion. The creator, thought to be Japanese, used the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto to publish an article explaining Bitcoin right before it started being mined. A popular conspiracy here in the US is that Bitcoin was actually created and is run by the NSA. If this were true, however, it would certainly diminish the anonymity of Bitcoin, which makes some intense conspiracy theorists hesitant to actually use it. There's also an idea thrown around in the Bitcoin world that Nick Szabo, an American computer scientist and cryptographer, is the inventor of Bitcoin. He's been a great commentator on Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and even though he has denied many times that he is Nakamoto, speculations still constantly arise that he helped in the creation of Bitcoin. Number 7, is not just used on the black market. Yes, Bitcoin is used frequently on the black market due to its relative anonymity, but there are plenty of places, at least within the US, that allow Bitcoin transactions. Let's also not just mention that it's getting so mainstream, in fact, that there are some like credit card companies that are getting involved into the crypto space. There's PayPal that's getting involved into crypto space, right? So it's getting pretty mainstream now. So Microsoft, Dell, Reed's, Jewelers, Expedia and Overstock.com are just a few places that accept Bitcoin as a legitimate payment. As Bitcoin gains popularity, more and more places will likely allow the use of Bitcoin. Number 8. The FBI owns one of the largest Bitcoin wallets. A few years back, the FBI shut down the Silk Road, a major black market site. As with any black market site, Bitcoin was used frequently to make purchases. This means that the FBI inadvertently acquired all the Bitcoin circulating around the site. As of October, the FBI owns 1.5% of the road's Bitcoin. That doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but when you consider how few people in the world own a substantial amount of Bitcoin, 1.5% is a huge amount for one entity to own. And we're talking about I think hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So, number 9. You need to account for Bitcoin on your taxes. And a lot of people don't really factor this in, especially like Bitcoin day traders, which is probably going to be one of the few people who end up getting hurt the hardest when it comes to taxes if they day trade Bitcoin compared to day trading stocks. While the regulations for Bitcoin are still in the works, the US government views it as a very real currency. They actually consider it like an asset, right? So any gains made on the assets, you have to basically pay in taxes. So it's a really bad situation. So if you do get involved a lot in Bitcoin, make sure you have a pretty good tax person, especially if you're the type of person that buys and sells Bitcoin like crazy. According to the IRS, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are capital assets just like stocks and bonds. So if you don't account for it like you do with your other investments, you could be on the hook for tax evasion. And we all know that the government goes super hard against people for evading their taxes. Number 10, the first legal purchase with Bitcoin was pizza, and there's even a day dedicated to it. If you're depressed hearing that the world spends its new exciting currency mostly on illegal substances on the black market, you'll be relieved and amused to know that Laszlo Hanyecz, a Bitcoin holder and computer programmer, decided the best way to spend his Bitcoins was on pizza. He offered 10,000 Bitcoins, about $40 back then, for 2 Papa John's pizzas. Think about that for a second, because 10,000 Bitcoins, like now, would be a disgusting amount of money. In fact, let's actually calculate it, because pretty recently, Bitcoin has reached like a pretty high amount, right? And it's basically at a level that is pretty insane, right? Like, where it's at now, it's about almost $20,000, right? So let's actually calculate it. So 10,000 Bitcoin, right, times 20,000, because we're just rounding it up, right, is $200 million. Think about that for a second. If he did not buy those 2 pizzas, he could literally have $200 million in his bank account right now. That is so crazy to me. Like so crazy, right? That you could have gotten like early on into the whole Bitcoin space and would have been a multi-millionaire to almost a quarter of a billionaire and not really have to worry about anything for the rest of your life. You could literally live anywhere you want, buy anything you want, invest however you want. Like, that would just be so amazing. So you can check out 40inbox.com to master your money, personal finance lessons and courses. Want to make money online? Learn the 4 steps to make money online in the description of this episode. You could get a free stock worth up to $500 by joining Robinhood and linking a bank account. You could automate your investing with Acorns, where they round up your everyday purchases and automatically invest that spare change, that difference, on your behalf depending on your risk tolerance. And you could get a small amount of free Bitcoin by joining Coinbase and investing $100 into cryptocurrency. We'll see you in future episodes. If you like this sort of stuff, like these lists, hit the like button, subscribe for more information because we'll try to upload daily.